so often people come to me either to learn to sing or to speak. And somewhere in their past, usually a teacher, but sometimes family members have said, stop singing. Your voice is, you're not on pitch, or stop singing. Your voice is ugly, or you can't do that. Like my third grade teacher in taking away the solo. Yeah. And instead of determining, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna learn how to sing louder. I'm gonna learn how to sing correctly. I'm gonna learn about the voice. They think I can't do it. The group that had never been sued had a warmth in their voice that just evoked trust. And the group that had been sued multiple times, although they were found of no wrongdoing, they had a tightness in the voice that caused that they could be interpreted either as dominance or as insecurity.
Once you are going through any sad phase and you get into depression, is the encaged voice, the voice which is not heard, listened, and you get angry. It's very important when you're sad or depressed. They said, get angry.
Oh, yes.
Get angry
and
shout.
Yeah.
Go and shout.
Let it out.
Shout it loud, and it'll clear up.
Yeah. My father could not match pitch.
Yeah.
For about 80 years. But after hearing us, my brother, me, my mother, all singing at home, playing music all those years, maybe 70 years. By the time he was 70, he was matching pitch. It was fascinating. Now, he did not practice it. He did not try. He did not have anyone help him with that. It's just he heard it. And so it's really important. I mean, that's just as far as the singing aspect of this, it's really important to expose young children to a lot of music where they're singing and all that. But, and some will catch it faster, some not. That doesn't matter. It just to keep exposing. In India, which is one of the things I love about India, there's this tendency, especially to want to have your flat stomach and everything else, and to pull in and to tighten up the upper abdominals. Yeah. We do want to use your abdominals. That's not what I'm saying. But tighten the upper abdominals. And if you do that, you're living in a state where the larynx is already lifted, and the vocal cords are going to be tight. I mean, the way it sounds. Okay, if I speak with my with my abdomen, basically with my upper abdomen tight, I'm breathing superficially, and you can hear the difference in my voice. And if I do that, it's not going to take long for you or anyone else listening to start breathing superficially and getting tightened up.
So, Laura, what is the voice coach?
What is a voice coach?
Who's a voice coach?
So
that's a better one.
That's an interesting question. Yeah. So a voice coach or voice teacher is someone who helps someone with their voice, be it with singing or with speech. You also have presentation trainers. You also have people who think they understand the voice and who do try to coach people in the voice. But a true, really professional voice coach is somebody who understands the anatomy of the voice and understands how the voice functions so that they can help their clients improve how they speak or how they sing, how they present themselves. Yeah.
So it's such an interesting thing, Laura. I've seen that when you become a coach, you have to be passionate about that.
Oh yeah.
That special topic.
Yeah.
So what made you this much interested in the element of voice? What was that thing? And when did it happen? When did it hit you?
Oh, this is the question. This is the question, okay? So my father was a minister. Mm-hmm. And when I was 4 years old, I came home from Sunday school, from church. And I was singing a song. I can sing it today, but I will spare you that. Anyway, and I was singing a song, and I kept singing it over and over and over and over again. And he did not want to hear it anymore. And so he thought he would stop me from singing by having me sing in front of the congregation. So he said, "How would you? What do you think? Would you like to sing that in front of the congregation next Sunday?" And I said, "Sure." And then that next Sunday, and I remember it really as if it were yesterday, he held the microphone for me. It was one of those stand microphones on the table, so it would have been on the pulpit, but and he held that for me, and I sang the song, kind of shy, and afterwards, they all came to me, and they all said I was beautiful. That was so sweet. Oh, that was wonderful. And at that moment, I decided I was going to be a singer.
Wow! And how old were you?
4. 4. Yes.
Can you sing that song?
No. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
It's called There Were 12 Disciples, and it's rather long because you list out all the
Whatever
disciples.
part
There
I
were
won't
12
do.
disciples. Jesus called help me. No, we don't want to get there. It's okay.
And you became an opera singer also.
Yeah.
You are an opera singer.
Yes, yeah. So at that point, I just wanted to understand the voice, and I did everything. I wanted to be a singer, and I did everything I could to work towards that path. It's a rule in our family, or was a rule from my mother, that we all took piano lessons starting at age 6. So we did that. And then I was not old enough to study voice yet, so I played the clarinet. And then once I was old enough to take voice lessons, I started taking voice lessons because I wanted to understand how the voice functioned. And probably another deciding point was in 3rd grade, I was given a solo. And when it came time to sing, that was the Christmas concert, yeah. And when it came time to sing, I wasn't loud enough. And so the teacher gave the solo to 3 people, me and 2 other people. I was mad. I was really mad that she took away my solo. So basically at that point, I determined I would never be too soft again as far as when I sang.
Wow.
And that just caused, again, I wanted to understand what's going on. And everything I did, studying the voice, at the university and graduate school and everything, led to teaching at Duke University, to being a soloist at with the National Opera Company, to singing on different operatic stages and concerts and all of that. And
we humans fear rejection.
Oh, yeah.
But rejections teach us. Failures teach us.
Yeah.
And that rejection, right, at the 3rd grade,
yes,
made you find what exactly you wanted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes we don't know, something is taken away from us, and we know that how much we want that.
Yeah.
Right? If it hadn't happened, it would have been one of those hobbies also, or something, that you are singing well and you're standing on the chorus and you're just there in front of the school.
Yeah.
And so many of us just leave that once we're out of the school. But probably that gave you one step and another, and then the whole environment, right, helped you.
I think that I think you think this as well. Everything we do in life, everything leads us to our purpose. It's like one step. Both the failures and the successes. Yeah, and it's fascinating. Also the doubts.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things was I always doubted how good I was or could be, and that just stays with you. And if you don't learn how to face that. And there's so many people who come to me to work on their voice. I teach singing at the university still, at the Friedrich Alexander University in Erlangen in Germany, but privately I don't teach singing anymore. I used to, but I don't any longer. And one of the main things I would hear, not only from people who wanted to learn to sing, but also people who wanted to learn to speak. And when I say speak, improve how most people don't think they can change their voice or improve how they speak in any way. So they come to you and say, I want to be able to present, I want to be more confident, that kind of more kind of the superficial areas. And
very corporate, we dress up for that corporate appearance to look good and to be, okay, we are perfect and to rule the world now.
Yeah, exactly. Without the depth. You can't rule the world without that depth. You can, for a certain amount of time. But without that depth, you don't have that.
Yeah, we say it in spiritual world that the deeper your roots are, the higher the tree will grow.
Exactly.
It always say that. Yeah. That depth defines how much you will grow.
If those roots are not deep, the smallest wind can blow the tree over. And that is really true at every level. But there's so often, what I was saying about, so often people come to me either to learn to sing or to speak. And somewhere in their past, usually a teacher, but sometimes family members have said, stop singing. Your voice is, you're not on pitch, or stop singing. Your voice is ugly, or you can't do that. Like my 3rd grade teacher and taking away the solo. Yeah. And instead of determining, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to learn how to sing louder, I'm going to learn how to sing correctly. I'm going to learn about the voice. They think I can't do it. And so they give up on their voice.
Yeah.
And that is so wrong at every level.
Yeah.
Because when you actually criticize the voice, the physical voice of a person,
Wow.
you are criticizing their inner voice, their message, who they are, at a level that's deeper than those roots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was one time, there are many, many, many examples in singing and speaking both, but there was one time where a client of mine actually started crying because it was a seminar I was giving at a monastery in Italy. I give a seminar, it's with Metaform International. I give a seminar there every year. It's a 2-day seminar on the voice, body language, and we check out different acoustics because there's so many different rooms with Gothic architecture, etc. And one of the things that I used to do as part of that seminar, we've stopped doing it because it was annoying the other seminars going on, but is that there's a large atrium in the monastery, and I would have my speakers go onto the stage in this atrium and speak without a microphone and project their voice all the way to the other side of the atrium, which is huge. It's easily 100 meters. Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I'll have to measure it next time I'm there. We'll see. So easily 100 meters. And basically, once you have trained the voice, you can do that without any difficulty, without any kind of strenuous, muscle tension or anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And this one client, one participant in the seminar, she got on the stage and she spoke and she did what we had been training to do, and which is basically you use the back wall of your pharynx as your resonating board, and the voice carries. And she realized how far her voice carried.
Wow.
And she said, "I never thought I could do that."
Wow.
She said, "I've always been told my voice is small and ugly and everything else, and now it's filling this entire area, And that's who she is. I mean, she was a really powerful woman."
Wow.
I said, "Yeah, that's you."
Isn't that most beautiful?
All of us. A newborn baby, the voice of a newborn baby has a projection of over 2 kilometers, really over 2 miles for anybody who's listening from the only place that uses miles, so from the U.S. Yeah,
That's why it takes a whole village to raise a kid.
Exactly, because they hear it.
They hear it.
I know, but also they can scream. A baby can cry cry for months without getting hoarse.
Yeah.
And that's because they're using a really good technique.
Wow.
And we all have that ability. We all have that instrument inside of us. We forget how to use it.
So beautifully you said that when we are talking about the voice, the physical voice, but it's something internal, the inner voice and the confidence, right? And when we try to shut the person, so much is happening inside. It may burst like a volcano one day.
Yeah.
So do you also work on the confidence or their emotions, what quietened them, or they didn't know their voice? You work them on a psychological level also?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And even a voice lesson with singing or speaking, a voice lesson, when I refer to a voice lesson, it's not a coaching, it's really singing. In that case, can turn into a therapy session from what comes up in that moment when they actually realize what their voice can do. And then all of a sudden these images come up from, I was told I couldn't sing, I was told I couldn't do this, and that you have to deal with that. You have to work with it. Sometimes it's enough for me as a professional to say, your teacher was stupid, didn't know what she was talking about, didn't know what he was talking about. And sometimes it goes even deeper than that because those emotions have been suppressed. And you said till it comes up like a volcano. Thank God for that volcano. Because can you imagine having your voice suppressed till you're deaf? That's where you never get to express yourself.
So it's so interesting that it is said that once you are going through any sad phase and you get into depression, it's the encaged voice, the voice which is not heard listened, and you get angry. It's very important when you're sad or depressed. They said, get angry.
Oh, yes.
Get angry
Oh,
and
yeah.
shout.
Yeah.
Go
Let it
and
out.
shout.
Let it out.
Shout it loud, and it'll clear up.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's physical. You and I, we were talking last night about this, and I'd love to share that also with the audience as well, because we were talking about how connected. I mentioned the throat chakra, and then you said yes, but it's always these
It's always these
connections. Yeah,
solar plex, because it's a control and the communication.
Yeah.
And when we want to control somebody, we say zip up.
Yeah.
We bribe the people, we blackmail them and say
exactly,
zip up.
Exactly.
Dare not talk.
Yeah,
That's a blackmailing done. Zip up. So that's a control game.
Yeah. And that's physically, though, what's happening, because I always come from the anatomical side, which, because I just don't have the knowledge of the chakra side like you do. Physically, what happens is when we get emotionally involved in something, so when we're angry or if we've got stress or we have a panic attack or whatever, we tighten up the upper abdominals. Again,
it's here.
Solar plexus, yes.
Here. Yeah.
We tighten that up, and as soon as you tighten up the upper abdominals, the larynx lifts. And when the larynx lifts, the vocal folds, the vocal cords start to close. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that when you've been talking and all of a sudden you become emotionally involved in something and your voice breaks away or the voice shakes. Yeah. That's this tension. Yeah. And that is
which raises
universal.
Anxiety also and nervousness and that everything plays up here and it's connected with your throat.
Yeah. And in the Western world, even more so than here in India, which is one of the things I love about India, there's this tendency, especially to want to have your flat stomach and everything else, and to pull in and to tighten up the upper abdominals. Yeah. We do want to use your abdominals. That's not what I'm saying. To tighten the upper abdominals. And if you do that, you're living in a state where the larynx is already lifted, and the vocal cords are going to be tight. I mean, the way it sounds. Okay, if I speak with my with my abdomen, basically with my upper abdomen tight, I'm breathing superficially, and you can hear the difference in my voice. And if I do that, it's not going to take long for you or anyone else listening to start breathing superficially and getting tightened up. And that's just an absolute, to me, if you ask me about my life's mission, it's not only to help people find their voice, but it's to help them find how to release that.
Wow.
Because your tension, the tension created by that one tension, what happens in the entire body is blocking you. It creates blocks and blockades in the mind, so that you get blocked, like as if you're taking a test and being blocked, whatever. You just don't have an access. You don't have access to all of your abilities and knowledge and everything because you're blocking yourself physically and you're blocking yourself vocally.
It's so interesting, Laura, there have been some stages in my life and I was really hurt. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't speak.
Yes.
My voice just went silent, and I didn't want to share it with anybody also. I chose it also.
Yeah.
And I just forgot. For a month, 2 months, my voice just went off.
Yeah.
And went and showed to the ENT. He said, what happened recently? Mm-hmm. And very wise. Just told, and he said, be comfortable. Okay, do these exercises.
Yeah.
Talk to your near and dear ones. If you don't want to, talk in front of the mirror, but write down, and read it out. He gave me those exercises. It was so interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I understand the depth of your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's so much of inner energy, and then outer, and then the whole rhythm and frequency.
Yeah, everything.
Everything, vibration and tone and everything.
And resonance, everything. Everything.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So what kind of people approach you? Who want to be, in theater, or people who want to rise up in the corporate ladder, or who are on television,
So
So they want to improve that voice, and what
Yeah.
kind of people approach you?
So there was a point when we had both kids where I realized that the operatic world was it took too much time. I'd have to be away for 3 months at a time for rehearsals and everything else. So then at that point, I started focusing on concert work. And also right before that, which helped that decision is I was doing some auditions, and I remember being in an audition in Lübeck, and I sang an aria that I had sung, and I had sung 300 times at least on the stage. At least, the role I'd sung at least 300 times. And this little mistake came in, and I thought, I don't need that. And I thought, why'd that happen, And afterwards I thought, why is that happening? And at that point, I started looking into the psychological side of performing. And I had I'd heard about, people like Tony Robbins and all doing NLP. So I wanted to learn more about that method, became a master trainer in NLP, did a lot of certifications in hypnotherapy and et cetera. And I realized that with the children, I really wanted to, or I realized it was a conflict of values. I wanted to be with my children and raising them. And if I wanted to continue doing opera, I would not do that. I would be living in a totally different city than my children. And so then I could make the conscious decision, okay, concerts are good. They'll do a lot of oratorios, a lot of recitals, that kind of concert work. And I'll be at home. And I also founded a musical choir that so I could do directing. So I still had the theater in there, So in that point in my career, I was mostly working with people interested in theater, interested in singing, wanting to perform on stage. But through the NLP certifications, companies started coming to me to ask me to work with their executives. So today I work with a lot of speakers. I work with, I would say, primarily executives in corporation in corporate that want to give better presentations, and they usually come with the superficial. I've got to give this presentation in English. I need help with that. Whatever. And I said, you really want to? How good do you want to be? Or some people who want to give TEDx talks. I'm a TEDx coach for TEDx Nuremberg and a couple of other TEDx groups. Or organizers, and it's a variety. And I'll tell you, this is back to your life's purpose. How things happen, that you just keep going. Once I started working in business as well with leaders, and leadership was also always a topic that I was fascinated with. What makes a good leader? I started giving talks on leadership, bringing music into that, so using songs and examples and everything else on leadership and communication and the voice. And I realized I could still sing, but actually have a even deeper purpose behind that, to actually help people find their voice.
Wow.
And that's how I found my purpose. Yeah.
Wow. Sometimes, or most of the time, I feel, if we are just in a flow, when the purpose finds us, it makes way. It brings up those people. At least it happens in a way. Now it's your choice. You choose it, or where are you coming from? Right.
Yeah.
And it's all there, dancing in front of you, the purpose. That's the action. Come, I'm here, I'm for you. And suddenly with your own conditioning, patterns, your ways, or you just look somewhere and you are seeking for something else. Because you like to see people who are there, what they are feeling. You sometimes just move your head away. So you just met your purpose, probably, right?
Yeah.
It was like your twin flame.
Yeah.
Because I can see in your the whole aura. It's each and every action, everything. You are the whole body, gestures, everything. You are with the voice and music and everything around. It's like angels blessing you every moment.
Yeah. It is. When you find it, it is. And things become easy. You're still working, but it's not like you're working, and it's not like you're working against something. You're in like you said, in the flow, and that's
it's in a gratitude, receptibility. You're receiving it beautifully, gracefully. I feel that.
Yeah.
And since the time I know you, and I always, whenever we were on Zoom calls also, I wanted to just listen to you and hear you. You were so expressive.
Oh.
So many times I thought, I don't know what did she say, so let me pen it down. But whatever she said, it made me feel it's okay, I can trust her.
Actually, that is interesting. And since you mentioned that, actually, the interesting thing about the voice is it is how we build trust.
Wow.
There was a study done in 2002 by Nadini Ambari at Harvard University. And she looked at two groups of surgeons, of doctors, and she wanted to know why one group of surgeons was sued for malpractice multiple times, although they were found of no wrongdoing, and the other group of surgeons had never been sued. And she looked at different aspects. She looked at their qualifications, and she looked at the length of time they spent with the patients. She looked at what they were saying. Basically, when I say looked at, they recorded the what do you call this? The examinations with the patients. They did an audio recording of the examinations. And with those three aspects, qualifications, the content of what they were saying, and the length of time, there were no major differences in the two groups. And then she took their voices and analyzed, without the text, she analyzed the quality, the color of their voice. And that's where she found the biggest difference between the two groups. The group that had never been sued had a warmth in their voice that just evoked trust. And the group that had been sued multiple times, although they were found of no wrongdoing, they had a tightness in the voice that caused that could be interpreted either as dominance or as insecurity. And that's what just caused patients to say, I'm not sure if this doctor is telling me the truth. I'm not sure if they're...
It's so valid. It's so true, because when we visit a doctor and we, refer it to others, said, whatever it is, I think I can trust this doctor because the way he explained and so comfortably, and I think he's right, So this happened even with teachers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With coaches, some of them in the school especially.
Oh, yeah.
The way they prefer, because they have to make everything, according to the calendar, school calendar. They have to meet their requirements. And some of the kids, they are left behind. And there are some of the teachers who'll make everybody comfortable. Yeah. And even after you pass out or you're at free time, I remember a few of my teachers, I just wanted to be with them. Even if, should I take the notebooks? Should I? Because not only to me, for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? The confidence, the ground, the space they create for you. It's so beautiful. And the way they'll convey.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You just trust them. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's how you say it that matters.
Yeah.
What you say, that is also not what you say, but how you're putting it around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so interesting.
And I don't know if it's true in Hindi. I don't think it's certainly in other Western languages. It's not true, but the German language is it's an interesting language, and that you can build words just by sticking words together. You can build new words, and also you can take parts of words to build other words as well. Just using the root part of that word, the word for voice in German is Stimme. So the root is Stimme, and the word in German for emotions or atmosphere is Stimmung. The exact same root as with the voice. And for me, that shows that the voice is the instrument that causes or creates emotions in the person in the people who are around us, be it an audience or be it one-on-one. And it's not the body language. I mean, obviously, if you're touching someone, you're going to create a feeling, but the voice cuts right through. What I do, and I'm not going to do it here because I think that will mess up our microphone situation considerably, is what I do in my seminars. As I say, what do you feel when I do that? And so usually people say, well, I see your aggression. I say, well, no, what do you feel? They go into an expectation. That's normal. If somebody's doing this. And obviously, if somebody's been hit and this happened in that situation, then that's a trigger, and they would feel something. But usually it's an observation when it's the body language. And then I yell at the group. And I say, "What are you doing here?" And they kind of something very loudly. And they'll react immediately. I said, "Now what do you feel?" The voice cuts through. If you are comforting someone, or if you are yelling at someone, the voice really cuts to our most inner being.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating, because that's the thing you need to work on more than anything else if you want to create emotions in your audience, or in with your family, with your children, with your animals, with your cat, your dog. If you want to create that, the voice is really one of the key instruments. And the other word in German, and this goes back to the chakra thing, is the word Bestimmung. And Bestimmung means your purpose in life. And that has the same root word, Bestimmung, as the word Stimme, as the voice.
Yeah.
That is part of your purpose.
Yeah. So, because I come from the land of Sanskrit,
Yes,
which was the oldest language, and so beautifully, I think, for German, the same thing. Sanskrit is the root for that, and the swar, each and every word and the sound of the word, right? They would say that each word has a meaning, and then it has a meaning, the sound. Right? The Panini was the one who would read about the sounds of the animals, the voices of the animals, and describe that too.
Oh, wow.
So Sanskrit has that huge interpretation of thing, and the way they explained it with synonyms to antonyms to root word to everything. It's so beautiful. I understand, because that's a root, that's the oldest, we take it and we feel wow. Somewhere each and every word, each and every sound, it's there in Sanskrit. Laura, I want to ask another thing is when you okay, this is voice, so I want to know that all the corporate people are there, right? And everybody, is it also the students? What kind of students are they interested to know voice? Have you started any course on voice? That's what I want to ask.
The study, my students,
coaching, is there any course for that, or you just coaching them individually?
So we coach them individually at the university. Those are individual lessons. And
you can start a course now.
Yeah, I have talked to well, I mean, I do courses obviously for corporate. I do corporate, so also open seminars. I'll be starting an online seminar soon also as well. Really, where they're individually working with me in that course on their voice. So it's limited to 25 people. But at the university, my students are doctors. They're studying medicine. They're studying psychology. They're studying to be a teacher. They're studying all different areas.
And then they come.
And then they come to take voice lessons.
Oh. How long you been doing this?
How much of my age do you want me to give away? I've been at the Friedrich Alexander University for exactly 25 years.
Wow!
And before that, I was at Duke.
As a voice coach.
On the voice faculty at Duke. I was also co-director of their opera studio. But
so amazing. To Silver Jubilee. Long time, the silver lining. That's a silver lining. Wow. When did TEDx happen?
I started coaching with TEDx speakers around 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. And obviously, when you're talking with executives or whatever, they often will come to you and say, "I want to learn not how to give a TEDx under the brand TEDx, but I want a TEDx-like or TED-like talk." And so that's structuring it, because I have a very specific structural formula that we use so that really you can create a lot of emotion, but make sure they also have something as far as research and everything in their talks and all that I've been doing for 25 years. But my TEDx, but on the TEDx stage for the coaching TEDx is since 19 or 20, and my TEDx talk when I gave one in New Jersey, that was in 23. That was
Post-COVID.
A year ago. That was post-COVID. Yes. Oh, did not want to do a TEDx online. I went. Yeah. No, and that's on the voice, the power of the voice, or discovering the power of your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to do it at Cape May, New Jersey, which is this beautiful town on the coast. It was just magic. It was really beautiful. The team was great. I loved working with them there.
Wow.
I did not ask our team in Nuremberg to do one there. I didn't want to embarrass them. I didn't want to say, look, I work with you, let me on your stage. I didn't want to do that. Although they now have asked me, the organizer last year said, why did you go there? He said, why did you go to New Jersey to give a TED? Why not here? And I'm like, I was not going to put you under pressure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I may do one there sometime, but yeah.
So Laura, voice coach and the leadership coach, I want to know leaders and voice. Mm-hmm. Because they are the one who voice out many issues of, the common man. Mm-hmm. And they lead the whole herd.
Yeah.
The mob.
Yeah.
Right? Everything.
Yeah.
And they create the way.
Mm-hmm.
And people are following them blindly sometimes with questions, sometimes, helplessly, sometimes in hope, whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you, let me put this question rightly. How do you put both of them together? How do you see it? Because the scenario of politics now and a few years back. So how do you see it? Do you see them? Do you hear them? Do you see across them beyond their words?
Oh, yeah.
So what is it, leadership and voice for you?
The voice, because it is the instrument that creates emotion, can also be the instrument used to manipulate. If you talk about politics or whatever, it can be very easily, you can use the voice to manipulate people. When it comes to leadership, all mammals, including us humans, we all give someone who has a full and deep voice leadership qualities. We assume that if someone were to walk into the room and had a very full and deep voice, we would automatically assume that's the leader here. It's even you've got a dog, a beautiful dog. I had a Cocker Spaniel many years ago, and when we were training him, an alpha dog, what an alpha dog does in establishing it's usually male, his position in the pack is it turns the other dog on its back and it growls very low and loudly in its face. And what's very important is that low and loud. And for us as humans, it's more, I would describe it as low or deep and full. So a leader who has a very thin voice or a very tight voice is not going to be nearly as effective as a leader who has a full, rich, deep voice. And that's training. It's not nature. You are born, like I said, with a newborn baby, you are born with that rich, full, deep voice. It's the vocal cords are small at that point, so it's kind of high when you're a baby, but as an adult. What you do is basically, in vocal training, is you train the muscles of the pharyngeal, the back wall of the pharynx, the soft palate, and the tongue to create a resonating room that creates this full, warm sound. And because you're activating that resonating room, the resonating board at the back of the pharynx, you're actually creating over and undertones, which makes the voice sound to people listening deep. And a leader who really wants to master this needs to work on the voice, to really master that, to master creating and finding that fullness and that depth. Yeah. And as far as, one example that I use both in my TEDx talk and also when I gave my talk in Mumbai is imagine a beautiful woman walking into the room, absolutely gorgeous, dressed to the nines, a tall, perfect figure. She steps onto the stage and she opens her mouth and she says, "Good morning, how are you today?" Yeah, that changes how we view that woman. If her voice is not fitting to this perfect picture that we're seeing there. And automatically, our image of that person changes. Yeah. And the thing is, just like I added tension to create the good morning, by releasing tension, you create the fullness and the depth. Okay? And every leader needs to work on the voice. Okay, oh, you've now got me started. Okay,
Yeah, this is what I wanted. The start button begins now.
every leader should work on their voice, not just for how it affects people around them.
Yeah.
Not just, to have this wonderful booming voice then when they come into the room or whatever. Not just that, but because when you're using your voice correctly, you are breathing deeply.
Yeah.
And if you're breathing deeply, the mirror neurons. As soon as I breathe shallowly, you're going to start mirroring my shallow breath.
Yes.
And then you're going to tighten up your upper abdominals. You're going to be in stress.
Yeah.
By releasing that, I'm enabling you to release yours as well, to breathe deeply. So if you genuinely want to create a person in a leadership position wants to create a genuine relationship with their employees. The trust.
Yeah.
Then they need to be able to control that. Mm-hmm. They need to be able to breathe deeply so that they can help those around them breathe deeply. And I assure you that means that productivity will increase greatly.
Wow.
Because people who are tight, people who are blocked, are not nearly as productive as people who are in their center, in their flow. Wow. And so that's the second reason, I guess you'd say, that the leaders really need to be trained on working on their voice and allowing themselves to be in their own center. And you mentioned teachers before too. Teachers also need that, because a teacher who is breathing superficially, their students are going to begin to breathe superficially as well. Mm-hmm. And we've known for decades now in pedagogy that students who are relaxed and students who are in a playful state learn far more and far faster and retain the information better than students who are tense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So interesting now as you're telling me all this and sharing this with our viewers, the images of different profession is, rolling past my So it's like when we see a lawyer, the defense lawyer, and the leaders who really, the dictators, the way they spoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's Hitler.
Yeah. Oh, he practiced it.
Or Korean or anybody. Yeah. It's something, a total different thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
But they are doing, the dictators or wannabe dictators or whatever, they're practicing that. They're doing it intentionally to create emotion in their audience.
Exactly.
So the audience gets all angry, even though they don't know why they're angry.
Yeah. So I'm not talking negative or positive. I'm not
No,
I'm just watching. It's just that how that anger, and they don't know what, and that's it. Woof.
Exactly. And that person is now telling them attack who's to blame.
That's it.
Exactly.
So it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It's a proper training. I think everybody should be trained.
Yeah, I do too.
In whatever way, in whatever profession they choose, or in life in journaling.
Yeah.
To voice out.
I mean, I wrote a book, as you know, called Dealing with Divas and Other Difficult Personalities. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's really important when you're dealing with somebody you're finding difficult, be it in your team, they're messing up how the team is working and everything. It's far better to begin to create that bridge to that person. Mm-hmm. But one of the very first steps is to find the bridge or connect to yourself, and to make sure that you're breathing deeply. And in the situation where I think people are getting emotional about anything, political or otherwise. The first thing to do is just to stop and breathe deeply, not shallowly. Breathe deeply, and come to yourself and think about, who am I? What are my values? What is my voice? What is it I want in this world? Just shut out the noise. Shut out the noise. It doesn't matter where you are on any political spectrum or whatever. Shut out the noise. And just go to yourself and say, what are my values? That, if we could really start a movement of people stopping, and in my book I had this, when a child crosses a road, we say, stop, look, and listen. And that's one of the things I use as far as, before you speak, stop, observe what's happening around you, listen to what people are saying, and then act or react. And if we as a people everywhere could just do that, to find our center, think, wait, who am I? What are my values? Whatever they are, not judging. They could be money, they could be love. The values could be anything, giving, whatever. But what are my values? And just look clearly at those values and say, okay, that's where I am, and that's what I want, and without the anger, without the emotional attachment to it. And say, okay, that's my values. I'm going to act according to how we can create those values in society. And I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, so interesting. You have touched a very important chord.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
And that's values.
Our conversations are always so fun. I love this.
And that's values. So when we are talking about values, and you being in a coach and this profession and working with leaders and with so many, like in university, at university level and different professions and everything, and as a coach and yourself being sensitive about the whole thing, do you find the difference of this voice modulation and expression different in different cultures? Can you make that out, that what that person is coming from, that cultural?
The language reflects the culture, definitely.
Yeah, but how they speak, or whether they speak, or I'm not talking pronunciation. I'm talking the openness of the voice.
Yeah.
So, or any gender difference, women.
That's great. There's a great question.
I mean, I just want to know about, because your experience with so many people, it's so wide.
Yeah.
So beyond that leadership, so what exactly, if somebody is coming from Pan Asian or from India, or the gender differences, the family differences, can you make that out? I mean, what exactly they are looking for, and why this? It's just an odd question which came to me.
It's not an odd question.
Because
it's a great question.
Values and culture,
Yes,
that
you can tell immediately.
It has a uniting dot somewhere.
So there are different aspects to that. Languages, because of the pronunciation,
that's
superficial, do cause certain tensions. Yeah. And however, all languages can also be spoken with, I cannot say all languages, I don't know all languages, but certainly the languages I've studied and languages I've observed can also be spoken with using the voice correctly. Otherwise, I don't believe they would have developed as a language. It was inherently, languages come out of song as well as anything else. I mean, the expression and music. So basically, so that's one thing. There will be challenge. There will be muscular challenges according to language, what tensions are there, etc. But the latter of what you said, how they were raised, that you see immediately. Because if someone is raised in a family where they were, let's say, very dominant parents and perfectionist, everything has to be perfect, then they're going to be tight. You'll hear it in the voice immediately, because their entire body will be tense. They're trying to make sure everything's okay. They're going to be in their head. They're not going to be in their heart area. They're really, they're going to be they'll be tight. There's no other difference, and that's both in men and women. I don't, as far as gender differences, no. The object is to create a situation, and that has to do with the posture, to create a situation where they can release the upper abdominals and breathe deeply, so that the larynx stays low.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is so much of requirement for the theater people also.
Oh yeah.
For the movies, because they keep changing into the change of the role.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing a great job. Amazing job. This is so amazing. I would always feel I'm a very bad singer. I don't even sing in bathrooms. No.
I don't believe that for a second.
I am bad. I just know it. I used to be in the corner of the choir because, okay, fine, your voice is not heard at the back. And I never went. I like to listen to music. I like everything good. But ask me to know. That's the only thing probably I just cannot do it. That's the only thing. So this is so interesting because coming from Indian background and staying in Delhi, where Delhi holds, all the cultures of different states in Delhi. You understand,
Yeah,
being the
right.
national capital.
33 million.
And
Yes,
yeah, 33 million from all the states all over India, and then they have their colonies and they stay there and they're working there. And when you're walking through the road, you hear the voices, you hear the tones, the modulation, the everything, the expression, everything differs. That really excites me, like who's talking and who's saying what way, because their culture says this is for. So that differentiation really, that's something which I really enjoy. Which word is going to put up and how they are going to put up and with what and what, the frequency of the words chosen. It's so interesting. Wow. You say if you want to control somebody, take away the voice.
Yeah.
The power of voice.
Yeah. And I think that's also the message of the fairy tale, The Little Mermaid, is give me your voice,
Yes, that's so interesting.
and see if you can still be as successful, in trying to get the prince.
So I read this one of the quotes, and which is of Maya Angelou. It says, "Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes a human voice to infuse them in deeper meaning."
She's very right. Very right.
It's so beautiful. And Van Gogh's, that was another quote. I was Googling. That's it. Nowadays, let me Google because I'm going to interview Laura and I should know some of the quotes. And I like these two. So he says, if you hear a voice within you say, you cannot paint, then by all means paint. And that voice will be silenced. So it's the same thing if somebody say, I cannot say this.
I cannot say this, or I can't sing, or whatever.
I cannot sing. I can, and then do it.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. Because by doing it, first off, even in your case, as you said, which I wanted to say that I cannot believe that is true, and I think you should relook at that whether I can see it. But so literally less than 1% of the population, I think it's 0.01%, but don't quote me on that, is actually tone deaf. In other words, can't match pitch.
I'm a tone deaf.
No, you're not that special.
My son's calling me you're tone deaf. You don't know anything.
Here's the test. If your mother were to call you, would you recognize her voice on the phone?
Yeah, of course.
And would you hear nuances in her voice if she's not doing well?
Yes.
And you'd recognize the difference between her voice and your son's voice?
Of course.
Then you're not tone deaf.
Oh, lovely. This portion I'm going to put it specially forward it to my sons now.
But you're not. And you're not. My father could not match pitch for about 80 years. But after hearing us, my brother, me, my mother, all singing at home, playing music all those years, maybe 70 years. By the time he was 70, he was matching pitch. It was fascinating. Now, he did not practice it. He did not try. He did not have anyone help him with that. It's just he heard it. And so it's really important. I mean, that's just as far as the singing aspect of this, it's really important to expose young children to a lot of music where they're singing and all that. But, and some will catch it faster, some not. That doesn't matter. It just keep exposing. And I can't believe you're not pitch deaf anyway, so that doesn't matter. But as far as speaking, I love that quote. Because that's like the person I was telling you about who was in tears.
Yeah.
Your voice is not... The biggest myth that people think about their voice is that my voice is my voice, it is the way it is, and it can't be changed. And that's just not true.
It's a skill.
It's a skill, it's muscle training.
It's a muscle training.
But it's also finding yourself in that. Because once you realize when I speak, let's just say my self-image, again, self-image, purpose, all of that, is I'm very shy, I'm quiet. So when you get the microphone, you're going to speak very quietly. And sorry about that. Sorry for the mics. But and you're going to speak very quietly and all. That's not your natural voice. The natural voice, no matter who you are on this planet of 8 billion people, you're not, unless there's been some sort of injury or physical change, physical reason for it, your natural voice is huge. Now, there are some natural voices like Pavarotti that's huger, bigger than others.
Yeah.
But everyone has that ability to have this resonating room. Now, once you find that, however, my image is I'm introverted. I don't want to be heard. I want to stay in the shadows. Stay on the side of the room. Now that you know that your voice is that big, now you have a decision to make. Now you can stay by yourself if you wish to be alone in a room and not with a bunch of people. I understand that. I think you understand that. I think we all understand that. Not wanting to be around a crowd of people.
Yeah.
That's a decision.
That's a decision. Sure.
But make a conscious decision instead of saying, oh, I'm introverted. I can't do that, because you can. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where I find the most fascinating part of all of it, is when people discover the power of their voice, and then they have that decision. Oops, my voice can project over 100 meters. What do I do now? Do I want to use that? I can't hide behind the fact that my voice is quiet. I now know that I have that capability. I have that potential. Do I want to stay the way I've always been, or do I want to use that? And that's a fun decision. I mean, it's not even, I don't care how they decide for them. I just don't want them blaming their voice for them.
Understood.
Yeah.
Another thing I just thought of is asking you, because you're a voice expert now.
Yeah.
For last, now means 25 years.
No.
Minimum.
Many more. Many more, unfortunately.
Oh,
I started
she's
when I was
hiding
15.
her age.
Exactly. Years, yes.
As a coach, I meant, and for so many years now. So some of us, because everything starts from that young age,
Yeah.
right? When we are encouraged, when guests are there and the children are forced to recite a poem with all the dance,
Oh, yeah.
Baba, black sheep,
Yes.
and then in school and colleges and everything. But somewhere, again, I'm coming back to a deeper question, that they lose interest, lose voicing out, or whatever happens in their life, and however they take it, right? So what happens is, like, they may be comfortable in talking, very nice modulation and playing up and everything in a smaller group.
Yeah.
Yet when it comes to public speaking, so what's that bridging what you do? I want to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this question fine?
Oh, this question's absolutely fine. Yeah. So the book of lists, there's a book of lists written every year. And one of the top fears that most people have is public speaking. And usually it's above death. So that means that somebody who is speaking at a funeral would rather be in the casket than speaking at the casket.
Oh my God.
And you're like,
that's wish I was there. I didn't,
which is, I find fascinating. Yeah. So,
and exactly, something happens here.
So many things.
Something happens here.
Yeah. And your voice breaks. Yeah. So what happened? There are several things. I mean, I believe there's several points to this. I believe more than anything that we each have something to say, and we need to let that out. So how I approach stage fright is I tell my clients that's the most egotistical thing you can have.
Oh, wow.
It is.
So reverse psychology.
Well, no, it's the truth. I just say the truth. Because, they all, I say they, everyone thinks, oh, no, I can't do this. I'm scared of speaking in front of... It is the most egotistical thing you can do. Because what is your focus when you've got stage fright? Your focus is on you. What are they going to think about me? What if I make a mistake? What if, your focus is totally on yourself, as whether, how do I look? What if, whatever, the focus on you.
Wow.
And people who do not experience, now we all experience, this is important to understand, we all experience this adrenaline, if something's important to us, we experience the adrenaline rush.
Every time.
The adrenaline rush,
it's also good.
It's good.
That's good.
It gives us energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be interpreted as stage fright.
Yeah.
So, what do they think about me? What if I make a mistake? Whatever. Or it can be interpreted as power. It's really, now I'm psyched. Now I'm ready. And use that energy to focus on them. To think about what is the gift you want to give them. And what do they need when I'm working with it doesn't matter if it's a seminar, if it's a talk in front of 1,000 people, what is it that this audience needs from me today? And then focus on what they need and hope and pray that I can give that to them. You know what I mean? And if you're focused on that, you're not going to have stage fright because you're not focused on you.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Some of the speakers, I found the difference in TEDx and the local TEDx and the local or public speakers. They make it grandiose on stage. They're the king. They're the rulers, you know. And the voice is like, it's like, they're roaring. But TEDx is more
intimate,
intimate, relaxing. They're sharing.
Yeah.
Have you found that difference?
Yeah.
Oh, and sharing information and a very beautiful and confident. The whole demeanor is very graceful.
Yeah.
Some of them really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the other public speakers, boom, boom, din, da. Hold on. I mean, don't intimidate me. I want to listen to you.
Yeah.
Have you felt that?
Yeah.
Some of them. I mean, like.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Then I feel they need you.
Thank you. Yes, you need me.
Yes, you need me. I mean, the voice is everything. You need Laura Baxter.
Yes, this is true. Yes, definitely. So there are different aspects to that. So one is the TEDx stage itself. Yeah. The TEDx stage, in general, with the entire TED organization, I'm a very big fan of the organization, and as a result, it's important to understand how hard these organizers work. And they work not only for the speakers on the stage, but they work for the entire audience to create an intimate relationship. Yes. So as you're into this,
comfort.
It really is a conversation with that audience who's in the room.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, it really is. Both it's a direct conversation with the people in the room, but it's also obviously all TEDx, not all of them. Some of them get rejected, but most TEDx talks go online. And those that are online are also a conversation with the world, but it starts out with that conversation with those people in the room.
So it's more authenticity based. That's credibility.
That's the other point.
Trust.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. So
that's what I felt with TEDx.
Once you get big, and I'm guilty of this too. I have to confess, I saw a talk that I gave, actually here in India, which I went back and was looking at it about putting it online. I thought it was, there were several 100,000 people at this ashram where I spoke. And I come from the operatic stage. And the opera, everything's big and it's much, much larger than life. And you're training that kind of emoting. But when you see it then in video form, you're like, oh, that looks so affected. It's like, oh, okay, that's different. So it's really interesting. You need to have somebody give you feedback as to what's appropriate for what stage. And I have a director friend who often gives me feedback, and she's like, you're too big, you're too big, you're too big, bring it down, and that's fine. Because you need to be reminded this is not that stage. Now, on the operatic stage, if you want the voice to or in a concert, if you want the voice to carry over an orchestra, you don't have a microphone, so the voice has got to carry, then you've got to have that kind of energy. But there are times when you don't need that big of an energy. It's also a cultural thing. The U.S. culture has more of the larger than life, but I assure you when they come to Germany, which does not have that large of a, if they do the, yes, and give me a hello, the Germans get mad.
Don't be, please. Okay, we understand.
They get very angry.
We understand.
So it's an interesting thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Laura, I want to ask you quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 points. How to work on the voice to be more authentic.
5 points. First and foremost, I'm going to say first and foremost, what in the order it really needs to happen is first and foremost is to work on your posture.
Posture.
And not in the sense of a military posture. Military posture is going to tighten you up.
Yeah.
So
Chest
we want-
out, stomach in.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like,
We
okay.
want the posture you have if you're doing some sort of an aerobic exercise, playing
Wow.
tennis or skiing or riding a horse, riding a bike,
Beautiful.
running, that kind of
Beautiful.
posture.
Yeah.
Same posture if any of you have ever done any kind of martial arts type thing, that posture.
Martial arts or Tai Chi. Or,
Tai Chi, that posture. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
So that's the first and foremost. Because if the posture is not correct, we can talk about breath all you want. It'll never work because the upper abdominals will be tight. So the second is then work on the breath to find that deep breath so that you're really connecting to it. So the posture, the breath, find the deep breath. And after that, play. Play. Yeah, play with your voice. Try create different sounds. Find it. So this will be, this is still number 3. Find a child and read that child a story, a fairy tale, and read it varying your voice with every character that comes in, and work on doing that. Work on really creating different sounds with your voice.
So the lion said,
yes, exactly.
Who are you?
And then the mouse came in and said, what? That kind of thing.
It's so amazing.
Yeah,
and nobody's judging you because there's a child.
Yeah,
so good.
Exactly.
I think that's a better one for me.
I mean, make sure the child, you have permission of the parents if it's not your child to make sure,
No,
kidnapping
somebody
anybody. But that's a different issue.
Come here, baby. I'll give you
I just want to read to it. That's all.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so that to vary your voice, and then in practicing that, when you're actually giving a presentation, vary the voice. Like play with pauses, play with tempo, with the dynamics, how loud and soft they speak. Yeah, because that is what genuinely captivates the audience.
And the last,
we were talking about stage fright, and I hated speaking with audiences. I did. I was a singer. I was an actor. You tell me what to sing, you tell me what to act, and I'm really good. But make me stand up there as Laura and talk to the people.
Wow.
And so I was doing, this was quite a few years ago. I can tell you 27 years ago, because I was pregnant with my son. And I was directing a musical review in Nuremberg for some 4th of July celebration thing at the German American House. And a colleague of mine from the National Opera said he was there as well. And he agreed to sing in the musical review. And my job as the director was to go out and speak to the audience before we started. Then I was also acting in it, but the other so. And as we were waiting in the green room, I just said to Doug, I said, I hate this, speaking to the public ahead of time. And he just looked at me and he said, I love it.
Wow.
And I looked at him. Now, I did not know at that point NLP and all of that. I looked at him, I said, there's something wrong with what just happened here. Something in what I said and something what he said. There was not enough time for me to love it until that point, but it didn't take long to decide I love this. So the other thing is just to accept that you love it, no matter what, and start enjoying it. Yeah.
So beautiful. So seeing today's current scenario, when talking about political leaders.
Yes.
There are new types emerging all over.
Yeah. There are.
So which is the political leader whose voice you find the best? And which is the one you say needs Laura Baxter?
A lot of them need me.
Who is that one person which you feel, or any public image, any public personality you feel that political leader, public personality, you feel, wow, what a voice, the way he modulates, the way he conveys, the way he, people receive him.
Oh yeah.
And there is trust and everything put in.
There are quite a few. I mean, certainly in the public figures, in acting, you have people of like, I don't know, in olden days, like Sidney Poitier, who just had this beautiful voice, just really resonated.
Today's
Denzel,
current,
ones, yes.
current.
The current, then, also, by the way, actors back then trained the voice a bit differently. And current, obviously, you've got people like, I'm terrible with names. Why? People like Denzel. Washington, yeah. Denzel Washington, who's got his gorgeous resonating voice, and uses it beautifully. There are a lot of examples like that. In politics, I mean, the first thing that came to mind when you asked the question was the person to me in politics who uses his voice beautifully when he wants to, and uses it terribly when he doesn't think about it.
Yeah.
And that's President Obama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
President Obama has a gorgeous instrument, as many people do. And when he really decides to use it to vary his voice, even to sing, like he did at in Charlottesville with the Amazing Grace, or was that Charleston? I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. When we all have this beautiful, Amazing Grace, he's got a gorgeous instrument, and when he decides to use it, it's beautiful. When he just speaks, and this is one of the techniques I work on with my clients, he tends to go into what I call collapsing energy. Mm-hmm. So they talk like this, and then every sentence is this, and every sentence is like that. And that you cannot follow. You can't follow it. We need in order to maintain or retain our attention, you need to vary the voice. Yeah. And when he does that, he loses his audience. And that's his team. He wrote about this in his book, because there's one actually speech that he gave before I read his book. I used this this example in my seminar because I was so mad at him at the time. I really was. And when he gave his health reform speech, he did nothing but collapsing energy. And it was lost. And he writes in his book, my team got mad at me because I was using my professorial style. No, you were just doing bad public speaking. Yeah.
So when he's performing
when he pulls himself together, then he really does it well. Yeah.
And when he and it shows. Reflects in his voice.
Totally.
President Obama, you need Laura Baxter.
I would love to meet you. Okay. Yes.
Let's say it.
I think he doesn't.
President Obama, you need Laura Baxter. That's it.
Absolutely.
So the decision is done.
and there, as far as he's a really excellent example in the positive.
Yeah.
And where if we're not careful, it can go negative.
That's such a beautiful example because you're watching, observing both sides of it. Yeah, so amazing. Yeah. So that was amazing, Laura. What would you like to tell the viewers about their voice, about anything you feel that they need to know? That one secret ingredient essence of yours.
I would say... there are a couple things, actually. Sorry, changing the rule.
No.
Yes. There are a couple things. I would say, no more than anything else, that your voice matters. So many people have a wonderful message to say, but they don't have the courage to speak up and share their message, to share their story. So your voice matters. Your physical voice, as we've been speaking about, also matters. Take care of that. But I mean, just in general, your voice matters. And the second thing is, as you're speaking, your voice always reflects your intention, no matter what. If you're in stress, then you're going to tighten up, and we will hear it in your voice. So before you speak, think about, what is your intention in this moment? Be in the moment to think about your intention, and then speak up. I guess those would be the things I would share more than anything else. And then, of course, work on the physical voice, but that's in addition with the things we've spoken about. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Wow. So now, Castle Mount Media.
Oh, yes. My baby, yes.
So Laura Baxter runs a publishing house, and especially for leadership books. And that's...
including Tara.
Yes. Including Tara, thank you. And that's Castle Mount Media. When did this happen? How did it happen?
Oh, I believe very much that fate finds us.
The purpose finds it.
Yeah, it finds us. Yeah, and I don't think things happen by accident. In 2000, end of 2016, I was considering starting my own publishing company for my products, yeah, for my CDs, for my books, because I write in English and I was publishing in German with other publishing companies in Germany. And I've got this book. Do I self-publish it? Do we create a publishing company? What do we do? And about that same time, someone who I highly admire, a great thought leader, Robert Dilts. He's one of the major developers of NLP, and I've known him since 2004. He learned through a colleague that I was considering starting this publishing company, not knowing I was thinking predominantly about my products, not anything else at that point. I never would have thought of going bigger. And he asked if I'd be interested in publishing his new books in German with Castle Mount. And I've got to think about this for a minute. And I thought his values match my values. His work is on leadership and communication, as is mine. It fits. And he's just someone I adore, someone I really respect at the deepest levels. And so I said yes. And so his book was actually the first, not my dealing with divas, but his book was the first one we published. And then a colleague, another speaking colleague who had written a really excellent book on virtual teams, asked to work with us, and it just kept growing from there. But all of our authors have thus far been really handpicked because they're people that are very, very unique, very special, very deep, and have a message to share that I personally believe the world needs to hear. And so that's how it started, and it has grown and grown. Dealing with Divas was, I think, the third or fourth book we actually ended up publishing because I wanted to get the others out. And it's just, it's been a beautiful experience. And you fit into one of those authors. When we met, I thought your message with Tara, and I hope to interview you about this soon, and it just resonated in a way that I personally felt needed to be even expanded, as far as even what would you say, given a megaphone, if possible, that it really can touch as many people's hearts as possible. And that's the way I feel about all of our books. It's that they're messages that need to be shared and need to be out there in the world. So that's Castle Mount. We've specialized in predominantly in leadership and communication, in business, healthcare, and education, and are expanding to bring in spirituality. They're all about helping, about giving back to the world to help others grow. That's the one common theme you'll find in all of the books. There's none of this. I'm not a big fan of chaka sales and and you make you a millionaire in a minute. That is not who I am, and that's not where we would go with our books. Although it sells, it sells on as far as that goes. But it's really about that depth more than anything else, and reaching people to help them find themselves, to find their voices through Castle Mount, through the books of Castle Mount and our authors. Yeah.
Wow, so beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Laura. What a sharing.
Oh.
So this is Laura Baxter.
This is Vibagurtu.
She is the voice and leadership coach, the TEDx speaker, and the coach, right? And the publisher who runs a publishing house with Castle Mount Media. And she is with the university for so many years.
Too many, yes. No, not too many.
And training everybody who's still seeking to find their voice through her seminars and her coaching. Right? Thank you, Laura. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Vibha.
Such an honor for such a sharing. It was an amazing, and so much I listened to you. Actually, I gained and I listened to you. And I hope it continues.
Thank you.
You bring the confidence of showing up with confident voices to many, many, many more people.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thanks.